The old bartender from the Holiday Cocktail Lounge on 70 St. Mark's between 2nd and 1st Avenues died a couple weeks ago. Stefan Lutak, born in the Ukraine in 1920, opened a bar with his wife in 1965. He said weird things to you under his breath when he took your bottles away. He was hard to understand. We had a conversation on and off for an hour one summer evening when I came there alone. He liked watching shows like Friends or Jeopardy alongside the news or sports. The closest I felt to him was when we laughed at the same jokes from those shows, right with the laugh track. Him sitting at the end of the bar in his usual seat, I sat at the other end. I would read there sometimes like a quiet dork doing homework, listening to other people's conversations. Stefan Lutak, who was all gruff clearing tables with his glassy blue eyes, who sat on a pillow and kept a glass of bourbon or vodka nearby. Stefan Lutak, who felt like my distant great uncle all these years. When he got sick, I told David and Claudia I wanted to hold a vigil, but they told me, "You idiot, you only do that if he dies." We laughed that I didn't know about that, but when we knew he was dying, it hung in the air. Every time we drank there for the last few years, it hovered over the table. The old man in New York who went to bed at midnight on Fridays. And so, guys, we were right. What do we do now? Where do we go from here? Dan Byers and I were there last weekend. It's still open on the weekends. They check their IDs at the door. The price of Bud went up. The bathrooms were remodeled with Jägermeister and Canon camera ads. They now serve hot wings and chili, a new flat screen against the black wall. The bench Stefan Lutak sat on was moved from the corner. It's just an empty space there now. It was my comfortable hole in New York, like my old Steinway Street apartment, fake wood-paneled walls, Christmas lights strung around the ceiling, antique mirrors and beer signs. There's been so many times I've sat there feeling like I was in the heart of my life. It's a room where I've sat with almost everyone I know. We were all sketching images of our futures there, a place where we all remain half in love with New York, what the city was, what the city could be, the place we would have invented in our fantasies of the city, the place we expected to find when we came here. On the last birthday I had there in October 2007, it was so hot, we sweated like the place was a sauna before busting to the tile bar where we camped in the back corner with our Stellas. People taking pictures over and over with the flash. I remember the flashes going off like a strobe light, seeing the faces of my friends illuminate for a second in those sudden flares in the dark, Reed laughing, Ben laughing. The one Reed took of me and Kai outside on the sidewalk at the end of the night, maybe the happiest we ever were in New York. I liked seeing everyone in one place, what it meant to turn 27 at the Holiday Cocktail Lounge, in and out the same air I shared with Stefan Lutak. I say his name now to honor him, Stefan Lutak, what it means to stand here with you a few weeks before spring when the days are still short. Sometimes when I write these things for y'all, I realize this is my form of praying, but the life I'm praying to is the life we live together. I'm praying to you. I'm a sentimental person with spiritual pretensions. It can be annoying, but hear me out. Read the other night we were watching your surfing DVD and these professional surfer guys found these films in an attic, grainy black and white footage from the 30s and 40s that their grandfathers shot decades earlier. The surfer guy said they realized that they and their grandfathers were both chasing the same dreams. You saw this in their surfing in the Pacific and said absent-mindedly, "That's living." Later you said about the future quite forcefully, "I'm waiting to do something," along those lines, and I looked at the screen at this guy in a wetsuit sliding like a key through the lock of a wave and saw in those grainy images those surfing grandpas on the beach. The weirdness of knowing I was seeing them young, even though they were all dead now, these young grandpas who looked like a crew of Jack Kerouacs on some vacant West Coast beach, still then without condos or shops, and in those black and white waves, I got that feeling I get looking at someone else's old photos, the past of someone else's life, everything that feels so familiar about it, though I've never seen it, lost moments seen from the outside, like paintings made of your old dreams. The intensity of memory can be like a horror where sometimes we seek a salvation, as if we could melt nostalgia into something euphoric, if we could find back there something we lost that we never knew we had. I wanted to be best friends when we were kids, or in high school, or after college, or for some summer when we were 25. It's like these guys surfing 300 miles off the coast of LA, trying to find a cove no one else has surfed. That basic feeling you want to be the first to get somewhere and no one else has got to. Imagine being a pilgrim, or a pioneer, or a colonist, or a refugee, and finding some spot in the corner of the world and saying, "This is where I'll bring my life." How many chances do we have to choose that place? How many times can we hit restart? How do we leave people behind when we go there? How do we be brave enough to let go when half the things we're afraid to let go of have already let go of us? How do we become brave enough to honor the past so that we don't lose the present? Where will we be tomorrow? Where are you now, Stefan Lutak? The character that plays Bob Dylan and I'm Not There, not Heath Ledger or Cate Blanchett, one of the others, he says at one point, I accept chaos. That's what I want, to accept chaos, to let it all flow out like the tides. I want to be okay with losing things, with losing people, with losing places. David told me a few weeks ago, everything flows, like his tattoo. Okay then, David, help me to let go, but maybe let us hold on a little too. I accept chaos, all those brave new worlds with all their branches of reality, all those things I did at the Holiday Cocktail Lounge. I did them, what I told you then, I meant it. And we may not even remember quite clearly. Our lumpy brains archived it in neurochemicals along the places we carry in our chests, the homes we've made in our heads. heads. Our life feels like a spiraling sequence of promises we make, the DNA of our lives, these loops we keep living, falling into the same patterns, looking for somewhere to go. Do we surrender to chaos even while we build our life inside of it? Can you at least remember me carefully, dear? Remember us tonight like this? You gotta hold on to what you got, because the thing about wanting multiple lives is that you really only get one room at a time, one beach at a time, one holiday cocktail lounge at a time, one K&M at a time. That morning in Sonoma at the Vineyard, the rural Alberta Advantage was on. You leaned over me, pressed your lips on mine like a seal on the weekend. The song The Battle of the RRA was playing. All these things will pass, the good ones will last. Me telling Aaron the night before, we're the most overprivileged guys in the world, and right here what we have is a good thing. The previous week seeing them live with Reed and Elena and David and Claudia, right here what we have is a good thing and will last. The only beach me and Reed were ever on together in spring break 1999, we took a last minute trip to Florida, mistakenly reserved a campsite at an RV lot, 30 minutes from Perdido Key. Who had ever heard of it? And raccoons got into our food at night, and I told Reed it was a bear, and he freaked out. And I started laughing and hit me so hard in the shoulder, and the next day we were walking through some Florida jungle, looking for a highway we could follow to the Gulf of Mexico, and we stopped in the middle of a path over a big stream. There's a big old snake guarding the crossing, pissed as hell at us. We both froze, adrenaline bumping. I threw a broken teacup at it that I found in the dirt, and we both jumped over him, and we ran and we ran and around. And 2 summers ago, after Mike had a bad time, we flew to Clearwater, we ran along the beach trying to outshake our hearts. You know from what, relationships, running to get from something, running to get somewhere, literally running. My dad happened to be there sitting on a picnic table reading in the shade. We ran from hand and ran back, passing old people and the kids and the dogs and the blankets and the umbrellas, like I ran this last summer, all summer at the trap with Mike, running till my lungs hurt, running as long as I could, over and over at Astoria Park, under the Triborough Bridge that they renamed the RFK Bridge last year, running with Reed, running with Mike, running with Toby the summer after graduation from high school, in Amsterdam in some godforsaken neighborhood after we laid awake all night, standing out with our knives, waiting for those crazy dudes to break down the door, running to prepare for the end of it all, running to practice running in an emergency, running from my dad because he had a heart attack, running toward Long Island to get 8 miles from a mushroom cloud so that I can escape the atomic dust if it fell 40 minutes after some apocalyptic bomb.